Of the many games inspired by From Software, I found the original Mortal Shell to be one of the greatest love letters to Dark Souls. It's very cryptic and mysterious, and above all, does not hold your hand. Mortal Shell 2 continues that notion in a very big way, offering a massive open world to explore, new systems and abilities to learn, shells to discover, and insanely aggressive enemies to take down. Not to mention new sidearm weapons, because why the heck not? Because Mortal Shell 2 introduces new systems and abilities, it's important to learn how to utilize them so that you're prepared for any challenge that comes your way. Here are 11 things you should know before playing Mortal Shell 2. One of the biggest changes separating Mortal Shell 2 from its predecessor is by removing the stamina bar. This means you can run, dodge, and attack consistently without exhausting your character. Sounds easy enough. However, we now have a different stat meter to grab our attention and take its place. Say hello to Resolve, the stat meter that allows you to use your sidearm and shell abilities. In order to fill your Resolve meter, you must deal damage onto enemies. The more damage you deal, the more your meter fills, and then the more sidearm and shell ability uses that you'll have. Note that you will sometimes come across Resolve branches, and they look as they sound. Attack it and your Resolve meter will instantly fill. These Resolve branches are often found in enclosed areas where you'll have to solve a puzzle or find a way out by using your sidearm, so be on the lookout for these as a hint that you'll likely need to use your sidearm nearby. As the name implies, you will be discovering and using different shells in Mortal Shell 2, with each one having unique weapon and combat abilities. For example, the teal shell has shadow abilities, allowing you to be undetectable by enemies for a short time, making for some great surprise attacks. Each individual shell also comes with its own memories, giving us glimpses into that former person's life. For example, Proxima, the very voluptuous shell, is introduced with a memory that involves using her special ability, the Biosampler, and she happens to use it on Merrick, a merchant you will meet very soon. Once you've discovered and inhabited a new shell, you'll want to register it with Zarel at the Marrow Keep, so that you can further bond with that shell. You can increase your bond with each individual shell by spending glimpse, another form of currency you'll be rewarded with when cleansing beacons, but more on those later. Zarel also gives you the option to reveal shell locations, which also costs a bit of glimpse. So we recommend spending your early game glimpse to locate and inhabit a new shell or two, and then come back to Zarel later to enhance the bonds with them. The more glimpse you contribute, the more memories unlock, thus increasing the bond with that shell. Bonding is very important as it opens up shell point tiers where you can add points to make the shell's abilities even stronger. Leveling up your character is twofold in this way, as you do increase your health, base damage, and critical damage, but even more importantly, you also gain shell points from leveling up as well. And these points can be applied to the shell ability tiers just mentioned. Note that all shells share the same shell points, and the abilities are exclusive to individual shells. Luckily though, the shell points can be refunded at any time, so you're free to move points to different shells whenever you like. While shells make combat more diverse, seals are what set your core defense in stone, no matter which shell you equip. For much of the early game, seals determine the type of parry and guard you have against enemy attacks. For example, there's the Untarnished seal that will block incoming attacks with your weapon, my personal favorite. There's also Vatra's seal, giving you the ability to harden your body and withstand the next attack from an enemy, which is very reminiscent of Mortal Shell 1. The seal is what shapes your entire playstyle, regardless of the shell you equip, so choose them wisely. Speaking of seals, there is one you can find that will activate an easy mode. Yes, you heard that right. The Slayer seal increases break damage on enemies and exposes them to riposte faster. Riposte opportunities are very vital, and they're typically activated when breaking down enemies' posture by parrying, attacking, and using sidearms effectively. And the Slayer seal makes this easier. The crazy thing about it is it can be found fairly early inside the central hub called Marrow Keep. From the Marrow Keep beacon, hang a left and follow the forest path. Straight ahead, you'll find a stone chair, and there lies the Slayer's seal. However, from the description, you'll quickly see that these glorious powers come at a cost. When the Slayer seal is equipped, it will disable achievements on your save file, so equip with caution. It's a price to pay if you want to have an advantage, and based on my experience, I would not even blame you because this game is tough. As you may have heard, Mortal Shell 2 does have fast travel, and it's easily one of the coolest fast travel animations to exist. As the game loads, it will send you and your shell on a fast trip through the air, and then landing as if you're a meteor hitting the Earth. It's a pretty awesome way to get around, but it's not the only way. As you progress and find Ovum, more on these later, you can take them to the Gloom Siphon located in the Marrow Keep. Once you siphon 3 Ovum, you can return to the Gloom Siphon later and find a reward called Mother's Breath. This gives you the option to travel between any revitalized beacons in the world. As long as the beacon is activated, you can travel to and from it. Mother's Breath also aids in cleansing corruption, which is next on our list of things to know. Corruption consumes the world of Mortal Shell 2, not just within enemies causing their aggression, but also in the world itself. You'll likely run into pathways riddled with corruption that are blocked and cannot be opened. That is, until you gain the aforementioned Mother's Breath. Once Mother's Breath is found, it allows you to cleanse the blocked pathways so you can access new areas and also create shortcuts for faster navigating. Beacons themselves are also victims of corruption. After a beacon is revitalized and activated, you will see an option to cleanse it, meaning you can enter and fight against the challenge inside. Once enemies are defeated and you make it to the end of the beacon, you can collect Ovum as a reward, which is essentially why you are here in the first place as the Harbinger. Once the beacon is cleansed, you will return to the surface, and then you'll be able to take the Ovum back to the Gloom Siphon at Marrow Keep. Be on the lookout for corrupted gates as well, as they will have to be opened in order to progress the main story and fight main bosses. You'll have to revitalize and cleanse the beacon just outside of the gate so that it unlocks, and then you'll be able to progress further. In Mortal Shell 2, you do have a permanent healing item called Mother's Pulse. Much like the healing flask in Dark Souls, Mother's Pulse has a default of 3 uses that will replenish upon death or by resting at a beacon. But if you're anything like me, you'll quickly want to increase that number of uses as well as its effectiveness so you can heal more with each use. There are 2 items you will need to find: the Revered Gland, which increases your heal capacity, and the Synaptic Vessel, which improves your healing efficiency. These items can be found scattered throughout the world, but if you want a head start, you can buy one of each from Merrick, the merchant located in Marrow Keep. In his Rare Items tab, Merrick sells one of each along with one Glimpse, the aforementioned item needed to bond with your shell. Once you have a Revered Gland or Synaptic Vessel, you can then upgrade your Mother's Pulse at any beacon that you have revitalized. Merrick's shop sells more than just rare items. He also sells maps that mark weapon locations on the world map. Whether it's a sidearm, axe, or sword, Merrick has you covered, as long as you have the coin, of course. We recommend buying some of these maps to add more weapons to your arsenal, especially early in the game. Note that if Merrick's store isn't accessible and you're met with his "let's get down to business" response over and over, you may want to progress a bit more in the game and then come back later. Before you start to explore outside of the starting areas, it's a good idea to level up your weapons so that way you're prepared to handle any enemy that comes your way. To enhance weapons, you'll need a mechanism called Maraudian Actuator, and you'll have to give it to Franz, the blacksmith located in Marrow Keep. And the great thing is, you'll find this mechanism fairly early. All you have to do is cleanse the village outskirts beacon, and that just so happens to be the first beacon of the game. Once cleansed, you'll be rewarded with a mysterious mechanism and given the hint that you should bring to Franz to discover its true purpose. Once you're back at the Marrow Keep, enter the room where the Gloom Siphon is located and make a left, and from there you will find Franz ready to work. Hand over the Meridian Actuator and ta-da! You can now enhance your main weapons.
This part is what makes her purr.
You'll just need a bit of coin and crafting materials, such as laterite and ventrium, which are generously scattered throughout the world, so you can't miss them. Another major item added to Mortal Shell 2 is Tarstones. Tarstones are permanent items you can find in the world and then attach to your Harbinger. There are 4 types of Tarstones: Support, Combat, Infusion, and Ability. And these stones give your character combat buffs and passive effects, such as charged attacks and increased critical chance. When selecting a Tarstone to equip, it's important to note whether it's compatible with your equipment or not. You can also temper or enhance your Tarstones by finding the etching needles in the world and then bringing those back to Franz. The more mechanisms you bring to him, the more he does, and with a bit of coin, you'll be able to upgrade each Tarstone, enhancing them to become more powerful and further aid you in combat. Much like its predecessor, Mortal Shell 2 has a familiarity system where items improve effectiveness by repeated use and finding more of them in the world. When items such as consumables are found and repeatedly used, familiarity will increase and the description for that item will gradually show, progressing that item toward its maximum effect. Familiarity can be a factor to consider when putting together your build. If there is a specific item you want to make stronger, you may want to equip it for as long as possible, so that it builds familiarity over time. And these are just some things to know about Mortal Shell 2 before getting started. With these tips, you'll be more than ready to face the brutal challenge ahead, and we hope this video helps you to be more prepared. For more on Mortal Shell 2, check out our wiki over at IGN.com, and for all things gaming, stick with IGN.